In this business, by the time you realize you are in trouble, it's too late to save yourself. Unless you're running scared all the time, you're gone. Business is a money game with few rules and a lot of risk. In my view, investing in public libraries is an investment in the nation's future. To sum up, we need to accomplish something gigantic we have never done before, much faster than we have ever done anything similar. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a day, and overestimate what they can accomplish in a year. It's the main thing I do in my life. I read and I chew glasses. That's my job. It may sound as if I'm cherry-picking. According to the listing on the UNESCO website, the gastronomic meal emphasizes togetherness, the pleasure of taste, and the balance between human beings and the products of nature. Define the precise chemical composition of the concrete you can use. Molten oxide electrolysis. Instead of burning iron in a furnace with coke, you pass electricity through a cell that contains a mixture of liquid iron oxide and other ingredients. The electricity causes the iron oxide to break apart, leaving you with the pure iron you need for steel, and pure oxygen as a byproduct. No carbon dioxide is produced at all. This technique is promising. It's similar to a process we've been using for more than a century to purify aluminum, but like the other ideas for clean steel, it hasn't yet been proven to work at an industrial scale. The point is that when we focus on all three things at once, technology, policies, and markets, we can encourage innovation, spark new companies, and get new products into the market fast. How quickly do we need to get to zero? Science tells us that in order to avoid a climate catastrophe, rich countries should reach net zero emissions by 2050. You've probably heard people say we can decarbonize deeply even sooner, by 2030. The green premiums answer these questions, measuring the cost of getting to zero, sector by sector, and highlighting where we need to innovate. In particular, green premiums are a fantastic lens for making decisions. The Gates Foundation's whole approach to saving lives is based on the idea that we need to be pushing innovation for the poor while also increasing demand for it. Remember that we need to find solutions for all 5 activities that emissions come from: making things, plugging in, growing things, getting around, and keeping cool and warm. I'm glad I've invested all that time learning about electricity. For one thing, it was a great father-son activity. The vision is about empowering workers, giving them all the information about what's going on so they can do a lot more than they've done in the past. The world needs to provide more energy so the poorest can thrive, but we need to provide that energy without releasing any more greenhouse gases. I watched Earth's Changing Climate, a series of fantastic video lectures by Professor Richard Wolfson available through the Great Courses series. I read Weather for Dummies, still one of the best books on weather that I've found. Besides, making electricity accounts for only 27% of all greenhouse gas emissions. Even if we had a huge breakthrough in batteries, we would still need to get rid of the other 73%. I didn't think it was fair for anyone to tell Indians that their children couldn't have lights to study by, or that thousands of Indians should die in heat waves because installing air conditioners is bad for the environment. Keep in mind that this isn't fake meat. Cultivated meat has all the same fat, muscles, and tendons as any animal on 2 or 4 legs. But rather than growing up on a farm, it's created in a lab. But Germany produced about 10 times more solar in June 2018 than it did in December 2018. Y'all feel like playing Minecraft on the Xbox 360? To grow crops, you want tons of nitrogen, way more than you would ever find in a natural setting. Adding nitrogen is how you get corn to grow 10 feet high and produce enormous quantities of seed. Oddly, most plants can't make their own nitrogen. Instead, they get it from ammonia in the soil, where it's created by various microorganisms. A plant will keep growing as long as it can get nitrogen, and it'll stop once the nitrogen is all used up. That's why adding it boosts growth. There are other downsides to synthetic fertilizer. To make it, we have to produce ammonia, a process that requires heat, which we get by burning natural gas, which produces greenhouse gases. Then, to move it from the facility where it's made to the warehouse where it's stored and eventually the farm where it's used, we load it on trucks that are powered by gasoline. Finally, after the fertilizer is applied to soil, much of the nitrogen that it contains never gets absorbed by the plant. In fact, worldwide, crops take up less than half the nitrogen applied to farm fields. The rest runs off into ground or surface waters, causing pollution, or escapes into the air in the form of nitrous oxide, which, you may recall, has 265 times the global warming potential of carbon dioxide. There are 2 numbers you need to know about climate change. The first is 51 billion. The other is 0. 51 billion is how many tons of greenhouse gases the world typically adds to the atmosphere every year. I choose a lazy person to do a hard job, because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it. If you can't make it good, at least make it look good. Your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning. Most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. Success is a lousy teacher. It seduces smart people into thinking they can't lose. I really had a lot of dreams when I was a kid, and I think a great deal of that grew out of the fact that I had a chance to read a lot. I agree with people like Richard Dawkins that mankind felt the need for creation myths. Before we really began to understand disease and the weather and things like that, we sought false explanations for them. Now science has filled in some of the realm, not all, that religion used to fill. If you give people tools, and they use their natural abilities and their curiosity, they will develop things in ways that will surprise you very much beyond what you might have expected. In terms of doing things, I take a fairly scientific approach to why things happen and how they happen. I don't know if there's a God or not. As we look ahead into the next century, leaders will be those who empower others. DNA is like a computer program, but far, far more advanced than any software ever created. Measuring programming progress by lines of code is like measuring aircraft building progress by weight. Computers are great because when you're working with them you get immediate results that let you know if your program works. It's feedback you don't get from many other things. Our success has really been based on partnerships from the very beginning. The vision is really about empowering workers, giving them all the information about what's going on so they can do a lot more than they've done in the past. It's fine to celebrate success, but it is more important to heed the lessons of failure. Well, Steve, I think it's more like we both had this rich neighbor named Xerox and I broke into his house to steal the TV set and found out that you had already stolen it. So it's an absolute lie that has killed thousands of kids. Because the mothers who heard that lie, many of them didn't have their kids take either pertussis or measles vaccine, and their children are dead today. And so the people who go and engage in those anti-vaccine efforts, they kill children. It's a very sad thing, because these vaccines are important. Power comes not from knowledge kept but from knowledge shared. I believe that if you show people the problems and you show them the solutions, they will be moved to act. Technology is just a tool. In terms of getting the kids working together and motivating them, the teacher is the most important. Some people may call me a nerd. I claim the label with pride. Like almost everyone who uses email, I receive a ton of spam every day. Much of it offers to help me get out of debt or get rich quick. It would be funny if it weren't so exciting. If you can't make it good, at least make it look good.